Class is now in session. I'm Professor Hockey, and today we'll be discussing Game 3 of the Sharks Golden Knights series, in which the Sharks lost 6-3. And since Game 1, the Sharks have just gotten progressively worse, right? The Game 1, they were fantastic. The offense was fantastic. The defense was very, very good. The goaltending was okay. Game 2 comes along. The offense also still very good. The defense fell off a bit, was mostly just solid. And the goaltending just completely fell off a cliff. It was not good in that second game, the major reason why they lost. And now Game 3, the offense was decent at best, but actually quite bad. The defense was just completely horrible. And the goaltending, surprisingly enough, was actually, I'd say, better than it was in Game 2, even though the Sharks did let in an extra goal in this one, and the Sharks lost. So it starts off just a complete embarrassment here in the first 15, 16 seconds of the first period. I'm sure DeBoer has talked to the team that they have to come out with better starts in periods against the Golden Knights and just against any team in general because of the amount of times it happened late in the regular season. But they just allow Mark Stone, the Golden Knights' hottest goal scorer in the first two games of the season, of the series, to just waltz right through the middle of the ice completely unopposed on a breakaway to score here in the first few seconds of the game. I have no idea how this can continue to happen. This is definitely the worst case of this situation. Just inexcusable, completely inexcusable that this once again happens in this game. And not just once, but another two times at the start of the second and the start of the third period, which I'll get to a bit later. A few minutes later, as the Sharks are just racking up penalty minutes, I think they took 4 penalties in the first period. It's Max Pacioretty who gets a goal, and the Knights are up 2-0. The Sharks managed to respond with Kevin Labanc to make it 2-1 on an extremely lucky one that I'm pretty sure Fleury must have fallen asleep in his crease with the amount of time the Golden Knights had in the offensive zone that he ends up allowing this pretty weak one to Kevin Labanc, as the Sharks definitely did not deserve even a single goal in this first period, but they were lucky to be within one at the end of 20 minutes. But come the second period, as I said, another early goal from the Golden Knights. It's Paul Stastny, the third line mate on that line, who, by the way, that line scoring all 6 goals in this game for the Golden Knights. The only 3 players here that are new on this team since last year, at least that are in the lineup at the moment. And at that point, the Sharks just continuing to not do anything offensively, poor play defensively. They get an okay shorthanded chance from Evander Kane, but a great poke check from Marc-Andre Fleury. And then just a few seconds later, it's, I believe, Paul Stastny again who makes it 4-1. And it seemed as though at that point, with how the Sharks were playing, the game was over. And it seemed even more so at the start of the third period when they added another goal in the first minute. As I said, it's Mark Stone's second, as he just again comes into the offensive zone. Bad rebound from Martin Jones as he's able to just push this one through for 5-1. The Sharks managed to make it close with a second goal and a third goal. Logan Couture getting a lucky one, and Timo Meier at least finally showing up in this series. But eventually it's another Mark Stone breakaway as he manages to make it 6-3 with the hat trick. 6 goals now in this series, and the Knights win it 6-3. Just a completely embarrassing each time in the first 3 periods that they managed to let in a goal. But first thing to talk about would be your daily dose of which Shark is injured today. Today it was Michael Haley, as the Sharks dealt with a high stick to the face of Meier that had him go for repairs. Not too bad, but then a puck to the face of Joe Pavelski. He has to wear that cage now and everything like that. Must not be very comfortable. Then in Game 2, it was Vlasic blocking a shot. He did not play tonight. We'll see what happens as the series goes on. Logan Couture taking a puck to the groin. He must not be very comfortable at this point. Maybe he's okay, though. And then Michael Haley now tonight blocking a shot. He is injured. I would not be surprised to see Jonas Donskoy in the lineup for Game 4 for the Sharks. Definitely dealing with some bad luck injury-wise, but the thing is, while that is a solid excuse in the moment, certainly to say, oh, we're dealing with injuries, when it comes to the end of the series, for if the Golden Knights do actually end up winning, when it comes to the record book, it's not going to say the Golden Knights won this series in 6 games, but asterisk, Vlasic was injured and Michael Haley were injured and blah, blah, blah. No, in the record book, it's just going to say Golden Knights 4, Sharks 1, or Sharks 2, or Sharks 3. It's just going to say the Golden Knights have won. So the injury excuse is fine in the moment, but in hindsight, when you're looking at it from the end of like the in the offseason or the start of the next season, it's just going to be a loss series-wise, so the Sharks have to overcome this adversity. Next is Erik Karlsson, who probably could be sitting on the sidelines with Vlasic as he ends up playing in this game again, as he has played in all 3 games, but he has also looked progressively worse play-wise, but mostly because health-wise. He was fine in that first game. He looked quite bad defensively in the second game. Again here in this third game, it is abundantly clear that he is not 100% healthy, that the Sharks are better off still playing him as they do not have a better option, especially with Simek and now Vlasic still injured. So Karlsson should definitely be in the lineup for game 4. They should not take him out. But this is another big issue for the San Jose Sharks because you can definitely tell in the defensive zone he doesn't have the same, I guess agility would be the right way to put it. He can't really react to plays fast enough. And sometimes he's just getting beat wide because he can't keep up with players because he can't turn around fast enough. So it's unfortunate to see. Certainly he has to stay in the lineup, as I said, because the Sharks don't have a better option, and he still makes some decent plays offensively, but it's a big problem for the San Jose Sharks moving forward. You have to wonder if it would have just been better off not playing him for those few games he came back for in about late February, I believe. If maybe he sat out the entire time from mid-January to now, if he would be healthy, or if maybe he would have still been in the same situation. Next is Joe Thornton, as of course the big controversy in this game would be the hit that he laid onto Tomáš Nosek. Now, of course, a lot of Sharks fans will bring up the fact that Brayden McNabb laid a hit to the head onto Justin Braun, which is true, and that somehow ended up going unpenalized, which seemed to be a theme in this game for the referees, as it has been for most of this series, honestly enough. But this Thornton hit was definitely a completely undisciplined play by Joe Thornton. We've seen him in the past when it's not going the way of the San Jose Sharks sort of make undisciplined type of plays, but they're normally more so like annoying type of plays that just I guess you could say get under the skin of the other team, and he'll get maybe like a 2-minute penalty for unsportsmanlike, maybe like a $2,000 fine. But this definitely crossed a line here for Joe Thornton. I would not be surprised if, like Nikita Kucherov for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Joe Thornton does get suspended a game. He doesn't have much history suspension-wise. His only other suspension was that hit to David Perron many years ago, like at least 7 or 8 years ago at this point. So I doubt it's any more than 1 game, especially now that we're in the playoffs. But I would not be surprised if the Sharks have to not only put in Donskoy in favor of Michael Haley, but they might have to put in Lukáš Radil or maybe even Dylan Gambrell in favor of Joe Thornton, because they won't have a third-line center at that point unless they want to move, like, say, Pavelski back into the center role, which I don't know if you do at this point of the playoff series. Finally, I will talk about Martin Jones, as he, of course, is the big chatter point of this game if you look past the Joe Thornton hit, as he did end up letting in 6 goals. But I said earlier on in this video that I actually thought the goaltending was better than it was last game. I don't think this game was completely on the Sharks' goaltending as it was in Game 2, because I think the defense just played such a horrific game. If you take a look at each of these goals for Martin Jones, I would probably only put blame on him for that 5th one. Definitely very bad rebound for Martin Jones to give up. And then maybe the 3rd one and maybe the 6th one. The 3rd one is not necessarily a one that you expected to make as a goaltender, but it's one you would like your goaltender to make, especially that early in the second period. And the similar with the 6th one, it is a breakaway at that Mark Stone makes a decent move on, certainly, and it's one you'd like to see your goaltender make after your team has just come back from this 4-goal deficit to make it just a 2-goal deficit. But again, it's not necessarily his fault, as it's not necessarily as an unexpected save to make. And so just because you take into account the last game he did play, a lot of people are really trashing on Martin Jones for having another terrible game. But I feel as though if you just look at it from a vacuum of this single game, and I usually do that by sort of switching roles. If it was Marc-Andre Fleury letting in 6 goals for the Knights, and I was looking at his performance in that game, I wouldn't have even said it was that bad. Similar here that I'm not saying for Martin Jones, just because Jones has been bad in the regular season and was very bad last game, that it just looks a lot worse letting in 6 goals here. Right? I saw people criticizing Martin Jones for that first goal on Mark Stone. This is one in which the defense basically rolls out the red carpet for him to sort of walk right through the middle to get this one. And this is a beautiful backhand shot. Backhand shot's extremely unpredictable because at least much more unpredictable than a forehand shot. And we've seen players like Sidney Crosby nail perfect backhands to the back of the net all the time, top shelf like Mark Stone did in this one. And you don't blame the goaltenders in those situations because they're such perfect shots. You have to blame the defense for allowing a breakaway like that. I didn't think Jones was good in this game, certainly, but I thought he was actually at a similar level at what Fleury was at in this game. Fleury definitely should have had the one against Kevin Labanc. I feel like he had a good chance on the one Meier. Didn't really have much of a chance on the Couture one because that was a pretty lucky break for Couture after it goes off the stick of McNabb. But Jones actually made a lot of decent saves for the Sharks even earlier on in this game when the Golden Knights had the 2-0 lead. As I said, the Golden Knights 17 shots in just the first 14 minutes of this game. Jones letting in just 2 of those 17 on 2 very good opportunities for the Golden Knights. As I said, the Mark Stone one, the Pacioretty one. The Sharks are shorthanded. There's 2 Golden Knights screening in front of Martin Jones, and then a third one taking a shot, and only Justin Braun is there trying to block this shot. I don't know what anybody else is doing on the ice for the San Jose Sharks, but it's a tough one for Martin Jones to see through 2 Golden Knights players completely unopposed, able to just screen him in front. So it was a tough game for Jones. He wasn't fantastic by any means, but I really don't think this game was necessarily on him as much as it was on the fact that the Sharks just played a horrific game all around. They scored 3 goals, but even the offense I didn't think was very good. Probably only deserved the one from Timo Meier, as the Labanc one was weak and the Couture one was lucky. And the defense probably could have let up even more goals than they did in this game. Martin Jones, similarly, as he made a couple of very nice saves as well, probably more nice saves than Marc-Andre Fleury had to make because there just really wasn't anything doing for the San Jose Sharks. And the Sharks just have to get better going into this game 4. They're still going to be playing in Vegas. We saw some emotions out of the team at the very least at the end with Vander Kane fighting Ryan Reeves and everything like that. But it's looking like the Sharks won't have Vlasic, won't have Haley. Pavelski is clearly not, well, not clearly, but is certainly probably not at 100%. Carlson is clearly not at 100%. They might have Joe Thornton being suspended, and so the deck is stacked against the San Jose Sharks. The Golden Knights are rolling with these 2 straight victories. That second line of Pacioretty, Stastny, and Stone, which you maybe even call the first line at this point, is just on fire completely. So the Sharks definitely have their hands full going into Game 4. They're going to need a full team effort from everybody throughout the lineup. Martin Jones, the defense, the forwards, all the players who are coming in favor of injured/suspended type of players, if the Sharks want a chance of bringing this a tie series back to San Jose for Game 5. So that will do it for this review. As I said, the Sharks will be back in action on Tuesday for that Game 4. And at this point, if you're a Sharks fan, maybe it's not looking too good, but all you have at this point is hope, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Hope for a better result. It can't get any worse than it was in this game, in that Game 4. Class dismissed.